Today I'm going to teach you how to take blood pressure using a manual blood pressure cuff. But before we start, we need to understand exactly what blood pressure is. So, blood pressure is the pressure at which blood is flowing through your circulatory system. We measure this using a sphygmomanometer and a stethoscope, and it is measured in millimeters of mercury. Let's think of your heart as a pump. It pumps blood into your arteries, and your arteries carry this blood throughout your body, and then your veins carry it back to your heart. Blood pressure is made up of two numbers, the systolic and diastolic number. The systolic number is the number that is read first. It is directly related to the arteries. The arteries move the blood away from the heart, building pressure. The diastolic number is read after the systolic and is related to the veins. The veins return blood to the heart, decreasing pressure. All of this together makes up your blood pressure. I am now going to show you the components you need to know to take blood pressure. We're first going to start with the stethoscope. It's made up of two basic pieces here. You have your earpieces here that go into your ears like this, and that helps you listen for the heartbeat. Our next piece is the chest piece right here. This white part you don't want to touch, but it goes against the skin of the patient, and it is sewn into the blood pressure cuff. That's just for this instance. It isn't always that way, but it makes it a little easier if you're inexperienced. Those are the pieces of the stethoscope that you need to know. Now moving on to the sphygmomanometer, we have our blood pressure cuff. This has Velcro on it so you can tighten it and loosen it. And it also, inside of this cloth piece, it has a bladder. And this bladder fills with air in order to cut off circulation of the arm to properly take blood pressure. Our next piece here is this gauge. And when it's open all the way like this, it lets air release from the bladder. When it's tight, and you tighten it all the way in like this, it keeps the air inside the bladder, which is what you want if you're cutting off circulation. Here is the bulb, and you pump air into the bladder using the bulb. Our last piece is the dial. The dial goes up to about 300, but we only really ever pump it up to 160 to about 180. And it reads in millimeters of mercury, and this is how you keep track of when you hear the heartbeats. And those are the pieces that you need to know in order to take blood pressure. Now I'm going to show you the steps in order to take blood pressure on a real person. I have a volunteer here. May I see your arm? Our first step is to take the blood pressure cuff and place it around the patient's upper arm. Tighten the Velcro. Now that this is nice above her, in her upper arm and the Velcro is tight around her arm, we're going to follow to the next step. And the next step is to take this chest piece right here. And we're going to place it on the brachial artery. And you can find that on the patient's upper inner arm, just right above where it bends. Now that that's there, we're going to put our earpieces in our ears. The next steps happen pretty quick, so I'm going to show you them first and then we'll go through them. You're going to tighten this valve until it's all the way tight, so when we start pumping on the bulb, the pressure will stay inside of the balloon up here. And then we're going to pump it all the way up to about 160 on the dial. And then we're going to slowly release this until the dial is moving at a slow and steady pace down. And we're going to listen for the first beat. That'll be your systolic number. And then we're going to listen for the last beat we hear, and that'll be your diastolic number. So let's start. I'm pumping this up, and we're about at 160. So I'm going to slowly release this. It's moving at a slow and steady rate now. We're going to listen. Our first heartbeat is at 122. And our last heartbeat is at 84. So you can fully release this, and as you can hear, the air escaped the balloon here. Now we are done taking the blood pressure, and we can remove the cuff from our patient. Our last step is to evaluate the results. Now it's time to examine our results. A healthy blood pressure is 120 over 80. Our patient's was 122 over 84, which is a healthy blood pressure. If your blood pressure is regularly too high, it's called hypertension. If it's too low, it's called hypotension. Having low blood pressure isn't bad. It can just mean that your heart's strong and it doesn't have to work as hard. Having hypertension, although, is detrimental to your health, causing strokes, heart attacks, and other health complications. One of the main contributors to hypertension is stress. In the workplace, we can experience communication anxiety, which leads to stress. This can be brought on by many of reasons, like talking in front of large groups, disagreeing with someone, being in an unfamiliar setting, things like that. But we can work on reducing this stress by trying to find out where stress is coming from, understanding it, and practicing it until we feel more comfortable in that situation or we just have more confidence in it. Overall, keeping track of your blood pressure is important and can save you from lots of troubles in the long run. Thank you for watching this video, and the references will be listed below in the description box.